All right, we're back. Hello, hello. It's episode 120 here, Digital Iliad. First stream of 2025. Sorry I missed yesterday. Yeah, we did 120 streams last year. It's kind of cool. We actually did more if you're counting like game jams and stuff like that. I didn't include those in the numbers. I probably should have, but we're only numbering ones where we actually work on this project, this specific project. I want to do twice as many this year. We did like 120 last year. I think we could do like 240 this year, something like that. It'd be like 5 streams a week for 48 weeks. I think we could do it. That gives me basically 4 weeks off total. I think if we stay on top of it, we can pretty much do it. That's the goal. See if this time next year we're at 360 episodes. That'd be pretty cool. But anyway, might as well get started. I don't have big, like, I don't know. I don't have much to say as far as like it's a new year. We're still doing the same things. We still have the same goals. Working on the same stuff. Let's go. That's it. That's it, Fox. Fox Shadow. How are you doing? Happy New Year. How's your projects going? ECS dev time. I don't want to touch this ECF. We're using the ECS, but let's hope we don't have to modify it very much right now. Really hoping we can at least get our initial gameplay stuff up with what we got. But yeah, all dev time is ECS dev time for us. So we're getting inputs down. We're modifying our buffers, our block buffers, which are like, keeping track of what blocks are where. The issue is that this information needs to make it back to the scene tree, right? So we got to be able to get it back to the scene tree. I call this block volume. It's really, there's block volume, block area. So this is like the buildable area. This is this thing, which is like our, our buildable layers. So we've got this, but we need something else. We need a place to store the actual thing that we're working on. So I kind of don't love calling this block volume. I could call it like workspace or something like that. Construction. Doing good, man. Happy New Year. You haven't touched your project since mid-December. Been too busy. Yeah, I feel that. Are we done with ECS now? It works. It's fully functional. We've got entities. We've got components. We've got our dynamic. Well, they're not dynamic. They're static. But we've got our memory buffers. We've got static memory buffers so that you can attach a large amount of data to an individual entity without having to store it in a chunk. We need that for things like our block information about like ship blocks and stuff. I think the ECS is adequately functional. We're getting input back, so we know like some things about what we're trying to do. In theory, we can place preview blocks around, so we can preview where the mouse cursor is in block form, which is like our basic test. But the thing is, we're not sending any of this information back to the Godot scene tree, so we need to do that. See, I don't love that I called this a block volume. Like it is the block volume in a way, but it's almost like a guide. I don't want a separate thing that's like the area that we're actually working on. We just call it like the construction or something like that. Add a node 2D. So the block volume will be the thing that constrains what we can build in the editor. It's the thing that like guides us and tells us what area we can build in. And then we'll have a construction, which is actually like mirroring like what we're placing down. Does it feel great to have that part done so you can do some game dev? Yeah. Yes, it does. It was a long sidetrack. It was at least 6 weeks of like just doing that. Felt longer. It might have been a little longer. Probably what ended up being longer with some gaps, some like holiday gaps, like Thanksgiving and stuff. But all right, so we've got our construction node. This is just going to be here. This is like the working space. So this is going to need to be based off of a scene. It's going to need to be a series of tile map layers. It's a lot like the block volume. So maybe I just copy the block volume. Maybe it's exactly the block volume. And we just have a different version of the block volume that's like a grid. Maybe we have a parallel version of the block volume that's the grid lines. I'm gonna rename it guide. We have this script, we have this block volume script, which we do need. Does the board reference this directly? It does. Yeah, let's just have two things that are basically the same, but one is a static series of tile maps that's just our guide in terms of what we can build. And maybe when we do a new construction, we just copy the block volume and name it something else. Let's rename this guide volume. Or maybe it's like buildable area. I don't know. Yeah, we'll call it buildable zone for now. So it is a block volume, it just has a particular purpose. And so we're actually going to delete this. And we're going to add another block volume scene in here. Actually, we can use the same block volume, huh? How did we do this? I actually think we can use the same one. Let's undo some of this. So if we look at this, and if we look at the tile set, hey Pheasant SC2, have a great stream. You're in a lurk. I appreciate that. Happy New Year. Yeah, we're kind of getting back into it. We haven't worked on this in a few days, and I'm kind of forget where we left off. Okay, so if you look at these lines, the way we've used these... oh no, this doesn't work the way that I thought it did. So what if we paint this? We gotta actually go in here and paint this. Is this inside or outside? Oh, it's inside. Shoot. If we did it outside, we could actually do this differently. So let's open this scene. If we repaint this so the guidelines are painted from the outside, we can actually just use the same area. We just have to be careful that we don't... Well, no, we don't store any of this. This is just for rendering. Okay, I got it. I got it. I just want to maybe redraw this so that it's like this. So that it's drawn from the outside instead of the inside. So let's get our line tool. Yeah, this is it. This actually can be much simpler than what I ended up doing. I actually don't need these last four, but who cares? And we erase the inside here. Oh, that's a line. Okay, so now we've redrawn the lines from the outside. Save that. That should affect all of these. Okay, so we're going to use the same node as our working area and as our guidelines. Cool. Okay, that should work fine. And then we're just going to hard code this in here. So what we do need is we need like a synchronization system. Could call it like a tile system that handles sending the information back to the tile layers. We'll probably have a sync system that like manages all of the syncing that's happening, and then they'll have subsystems for like a given mode. Like you would only need to run the tile system. Well, I guess you'd run the tile system all the time, huh? Okay, let's make a tile system. Let's start there. That seems like a good place to start. Oh, we have one. All right. When would we run it? We would run it. Let me organize this. Oh God, what did I do? I hid this. It's fine. Reorganizing here a little bit. Input, view, edit tools. Our test system is building our area here, so we need to maybe do something about that. Actually, this is fine for now. So we have a hard-coded construction entity right now, which I don't love. We'll keep it like this for now. Eventually we'll have a more dynamic system. But for now, we're going to get our tile system. So this system is going to run through, basically copy over the block data to the tile map systems. And then they'll figure out stuff like they'll run, if they need to run their auto tiler, they'll do that. Because the auto tiler will be getting run outside of the edit mode, right? Like if we blow up a wall or something, not blow up, well, maybe blow up is a good example. We'd want to redraw the surrounding walls to be like charred or something. So it's not, this is not just an edit time consideration. So the tile system needs to be able to find. So how are we going to do this? So you know about the board. Maybe this game node is the path back. Like we have like a sync nodes function or something like that. Or maybe like sync tiles, or I don't know. But we would need to know who we're syncing, who they're connected to. At the moment, we can kind of cheat a lot of this because we're only operating on one node, or not one node, but we know specifically that we're operating on this block volume and its children. And we know about the board, so we can get the editor and we can get the block volume from the editor. And then in the block editor, we've got our block areas, and the block areas are the specific tile map layers that we're operating on. This we just update. I say just update, it's a lot more complicated than that. It's not just one area, is it? It's a block. We need a block level. Block area is actually not a tile map layer. It's a node 2D. I see. So we need to change this node type. You become a node 2D. Probably lost a bunch of information there. And then what we do is we need to go look at our deck level here. This is our deck level. This whole deal. I'm going to rebuild this a little differently. I'm going to rebuild this a little separately because I want the other system to keep working. Oh, hey, physics. How's it going? Happy New Year. Welcome in. How's it going for you? I know we're only like 3 days in. All right, so one issue is that each of these layers, the floor layer, the wall layer, the door layer, they each have their own script. So they're each of the hull layer type, but they each have their own deal. Close this. And they do things like this, like get hull types, which arguably we may or may want to do this in the C# world. But I think for now, let's just not mess with any of this stuff because all of this stuff works. All we're really doing is swapping out where the source of the information is about the tile maps.
Maximum warp.
Maximum warp. No Jewel. Hey, how's it going? How have you been? Physics, you got super busy during the holidays with orders for your bakery. Oh, cool. Yeah, I bet that's a busy time of year for a bakery. Yeah, I do compliance stuff. So, like, for us, end of year, new year stuff is like crazy busy because there's always a bunch of new stuff that comes into effect that we need. So, yeah, so I didn't stream yesterday because there was just too much going on. January 2nd is like one of my busiest days of the year. But I had the first off, so I can't complain. No, Jewel, was that a YouTube chat message? Yeah, yeah, we multi-stream to YouTube and Twitch. We actually have more people. We usually have 5 to 10 times the number of viewers on YouTube than Twitch, which is interesting. It's kind of, I mean, one, I'm a tiny, tiny ass streamer, so this might just be a statistical anomaly. But yeah, I do way better on YouTube than Twitch. It's kind of interesting. But I got them both up, so I'm not missing anything. I'm not allowed to show both of the chats. It is a violation of the Twitch terms of service. So I have to kind of act as a mediary. All right, so yeah, let's not mess with any of this stuff. So what we are messing with is the ship hull.tile blocks. So what if we try at the moment, what if we try just shunting our data into here? So that means I need to go look at the hull layer. No. Yeah? No, this is the parent class of the different floor layers. I need to look at the ship hull. Where is that? Man, I'm working on a lot of stuff I don't remember. A lot of stuff I haven't touched in many months. Ship hull. Are you part of this? Are you part of the hull stack? Probably. No. Okay, you're part of the deck level then. No. Uh, where is this information being pulled from? Hull stack. Let's just open the hull stack up. So you don't have this information. Oh yeah, you do. Here you are. Tile blocks. Okay. So tile blocks is a dictionary. It's untyped because we're on Godot 4.3. Can't wait for 4.4. I actually saw a message recently. Oh, I forgot to go live on Discord. Hold on, let me do that real quick. But I was looking at Godot, and Godot announced that they've moved up the .NET packages to 8. We're already on 8, but what they did say is that they're going to go up to .NET 10 in November. They're going to start catching up because they're a year behind because .NET 8 was in 2023. And, you can already use more advanced .NETs. We might already be on 10, but I know we're at least on 8. Actually, I'm pretty sure we're actually on 8, not 10. So I don't exactly know what I'm missing out by not being on 10, but we're going to look into it because I think we could start supporting it soon. So that's exciting. Anyway, let me make this post real quick on the Discord. Let's start this year off by forgetting to post a live stream alert. That seems like a good way to start. 4.4 require a rewrite? No. No rewrites, just new stuff. There's a feature that is GDScript does not currently have typed dictionaries, and it's like one of the smallest changes. to 4.4 considering all of the other stuff they're talking about doing in 4.4, but it's far and away the only thing anyone seems to care about when you ask. They're like, type dictionaries, let's go. It's really funny. So yeah, I don't know what's in this. I don't know what's in this dictionary, which is unfortunate, but let's figure it out. Let's go to the stardoc script. That probably knows everything. Tile blocks. Tile blocks. I think it's just an enum, which is a bit of an issue because the enum is defined in GDScript. Man, we were dealing with this last stream, but the fact that we like can't get the GDScript enums and the C# enums to play nice. I think we're just going to end up having them be duplicated in both places in some cases. Because I don't know how else to get around this. So let's look at block comp. God, how did I organize this stupid thing? Are you an object? You are. Oh. Wait, what? Oh, this is hull. Here we go. So we've got null. We can't do that. I mean, we can, but we can't do this on the C# side. So dec, bulk, door, deco. We have a composition and a position. I don't think we use this class for anything. But we do use this block comp. I call this a form in C#. I don't call it a comp. I call it a block form. Because we use the word comp in so many other contexts in C# that it's confusing. So we need to make a choice. We need to... This is also a flag. I really wish there was better compatibility between... Like, I wish GDScript could understand a C# enum better. I guess we're just going to have to recreate it in two places. It's unfortunate. I wonder if you can have the same class and give it a GDScript file and a C# file. And in C# you just call it like a partial. I wonder, I mean, obviously you couldn't use all of it, but I wonder how something like that, I wonder how the system would understand something like that. Moose, why did you write your own ECS rather than something pre-built like Arch ECS? Welcome to the channel. There is no good reason. I have no good reason other than that I wanted to understand how the system worked. And my own personal experiences with using libraries like that is that I would have eventually run into some limitation of their system that is totally reasonable for a generic use case, but for my specific game would end up being like a horrible problem and I'd have to work around it. So I figured, you know, I had enough experience with entity component systems that I was like, I should be able to make a simple one myself and it doesn't need all the features. Like our entity component system is single threaded. It's on the main thread. You know, it doesn't have, we don't have command buffers or anything like that. Like, it's very simple. We've just got like entities, components, static buffers. We have queries. We have like a very simple set of utility. And yeah, it's I probably should have just used a library, but you know, in a long project like this, I get very concerned about tethering myself to a library that I don't understand. So yeah, so what we're gonna try to do is we're gonna just try. Our initial attempt at making this work is going to be substituting the tile block dictionary with our own data. That's how we're going to attempt to do this in such a way where we don't have to rewrite every single thing. We just want to be able to get our entity data into this tile block dictionary, and so everything else can still keep working. That's our goal. we are running into some issues. I might end up needing to rewrite some of this because we rely heavily on, I guess if as long as I keep these enums in parity, it doesn't matter. Let me go check the C# side. I also wrote this ECS in C#, which is also not the right language to do it, but to be fair, our Arch is in C#, so it would have worked fine. There's quite a few C# ECSs. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying for Godot specifically, I probably should have done this in C++. But I'm not a good programmer. That was a little too daunting to me. What am I doing? Oh yeah, I'm checking our block. Our block enum. That's here, block.forms. So dec is 1, bulk is 2, both is 3. Okay, so I've written some combos here. So both is 3. That's fine because this is a bit flag thing. I wonder if Godot understands that. And that's just so I can evaluate if something has a dec and a bulk. Because a dec is like the floor plate, and a bulk is like a wall or some other thing. Moose, you ran into that issue, though it wasn't huge. You wanted systems which would run once when X component was added. Only need to create some extension methods to invoke events. At least current solution. Yeah, okay, that seems like a clean solve. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, we're so early in this project that I just was like, I think we need a very simple version of it, and I want to fully understand our implementation so that I can fix the problems when they come up. Moose, you wanted to get into Rust ECS with Bevy, but it has too many massive changes every few months. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I know someone who just jumped from Godot to Bevy, and they like it. I don't think it's for me. I used Unity's ECS dots for like 3 or 4 years, like a while ago. And it kind of got me into ECS as a design framework. But now we're using Godot, so kind of doing something else. Okay, so I should probably rewrite some of this stuff just to get the data in a good state. I really am tempted to see if we can just use these two enums interchangeably. It's going to come over as an int, and I wonder if the Godot enum is just fine with that. I think it is the way they're structured, the way a Godot enum is structured, as like basically like this weird collection of like constants. I think that's fine. I don't love that I'm going to need to maintain this in 2 places. But for now, we basically, for whoever's new, we basically have this fully functional auto tiler and basic editing tool for making these 3-dimensional, they're eventually going to be ships, but right now they're just like blocks, big blocks. So like I can make a room here. Note that it's a room. So I can make a room and I can put like doors in it and stuff. So we've got this kind of nice little auto tiler, and I can keep going. I could make more if I wanted. So, and like we've got this thing. This is all running in GDScript, and we're directly editing the tile map layers. So this is all just a direct edit of the tile data. But we've ended up doing this entity component system because I kind of want to do this not in just directly messing with the tile map layers. I kind of want to have the game simulation not bound to like nodes, a node structure in the scene tree. So we made our entity component system. We've got all the game stuff going. Well, we've got it set up so our game stuff can be running over there And we're only going to copy over to the nodes, the scene tree, what we actually need to render and interact with. And so I need to recreate this tool basically using our entity component, our entities and their components and their buffers as like the source data for it. So that's kind of what we're working on. And I'm tempted to just try to shunt our new data into the current process, but I should probably just start writing it differently, do it a little differently. Because I also want both of these systems to continue working, and I feel like I'm going to have a hard time doing that if I try to adapt our existing solution. I should probably just write a parallel solution. Because I like to have the current solution visible or demonstrable for people. I think it helps. So let's analyze the structure and just rebuild it. So the obvious thing is that we've got this block volume and we've got these block areas. And the areas are like the equivalent of our deck levels. So it's like a flat 2D area and it's a bunch of different tile map layers. Because we use a bunch of tile map layers for the auto tiler to build what we are ultimately seeing. We use like 7 tile map layers per level. Because we're rendering individual faces instead of 3D objects. We're rendering 2D faces and like constructing the 3D objects out of that. So like a cube has like 3 faces that you can see. And so the auto tiler is like, for a wall piece, it's like, here's the layer X, here's the X face that should go here, here's the Y face that should go here, here's the Z face that should go here. And we've split it up like that. And so we need to recreate this kind of structure. Right now, each of these layers are driving a lot of the logic with these big scripts that do all the auto tiling. I would like to change that a little bit, but I might not. I might end up copying this pretty much verbatim. There's a question of how much of this I could pre-calculate on the C# side. Like, what do we actually need to pass through to the Godot side? All we need to do is pass through the actual tile map data. Like the exact data that the tile map needs to render, which is just a series of source IDs, atlas coords, and alternative tile information. That's it. Just those 3 pieces of information. I'm pretty sure that's all we need. Yeah, source IDs, atlas coords, and alt tiles. So honestly, we should probably just do all of this calculation on the C# side. The only reason I'm tempted to not do that is if we do it on this side, it's all stored in the tile map and we just have it when we need it. Whereas if I do it on the C# side, I'm going to need to store it somewhere probably more permanently. I guess maybe not. Maybe we just make it and then just leave it in the tile map layer. And we don't actually hold on to it. We just generate it on the fly. It's really cheap to do. So maybe we do that. Maybe we offload a lot of this logic onto the, because it'll be faster if we can run it in C#. And eventually maybe we run it somewhere else instead of running it in here. The only thing I really want to run directly in the Godot side is like rendering and input. And like arguably that's part of rendering. But we had a system here for loading and it illustrated to me how easy it is to just shove the raw binary data into the tile map, and it just does it correctly. It just handles it. Like you can just give it all the data and it will just work. And so I'm kind of tempted to do it that way. Oh, Moose, I wanted to ask you what kind of stuff you're working on, because you're doing an ECS. You're probably doing games, or you probably wouldn't be here. I might have missed my opportunity to ask you that. Um, yeah, so when we unpack the tile map data, we plug in this byte array that's all of the tile map data packed up, and we just go through this decoding process. Then we just plug the data in. Here we're doing a slice, so we're plugging in. I think I pack all of the data for all of the layers, and I'm putting it into a single byte array. We can probably do that a little differently. But yeah, I think maybe that's what I want to do, and then we just shove this because we can send a packed byte array back. What is a packed byte array in Godot or in C sharp? Is it just like a? All right, let's look up C sharp API differences. Look at collections. So a packed byte array, that's just a byte array. Okay, beautiful. Yeah, if we could prepare a byte array and then just shove it into the tile map layer, that's like the easiest way to do it. Then we don't have to worry about sending entity data over and then having them operate on the entity data and like figure out what their tile map layer should be looking like based on that buffer data. We could just do it all in C# and then just shove the result straight into the tile map data on the Godot side. I think I prefer that. I think that's what we're going to try to do. Because then I only have to adapt a very small amount of the existing code to handle that instead of all of it. Okay, cool. Your real focus has been working on a networking solution to work on a 3D cooperative RPG. You got networking done. Now you need to make the game. Hell yeah. That's the net. I would never touch networking. That's like, it's like you want to make games. One, that's fine. You want to make networked games. You're up to here. You're like, you're already up to here with just making games, but yeah, a network game. That's awesome. Took a 3-week detour playing with ECS. The design of separating data and systems keeps distracting you. I know that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to separate, because I mean, most of the time, you don't need to separate your game data from your rendering data. It usually doesn't matter. In the same way that most of the time, you might as well have a node per object. Like you might as well have a full game object thing, and that's just the thing, and it runs around and it's rendered. If it's off screen, it's probably being called or whatever. If it's really off screen, you unload it or whatever. You unload the scene. Like, but yeah, entity component systems. Our game is kind of simulation heavy, and like if there's like 6 ships that are in an action somewhere, you're probably looking at 2 of them, right? But you still need to simulate the other 4. So yeah, I wanted to separate all of that out into somewhere I could do the simulation more easily. Did I need to do that? Probably not. Could the node-based system in Godot handle that kind of performance? Probably. Probably would have been fine. Um, but I like ECS. I like the mindset. I like I mean you're supposed to favor composition over inheritance. And like Godot, switching to Godot is a bit of an adjustment for me because Godot is very inheritance focused. It is very OOP. It is a lot less data oriented. It's fine. I mean, if you dig down into the servers and stuff, it's really good. Like I don't have an issue with Godot's architecture. I just kind of wanted a different framework to design in as much as, you know, the performance considerations. So yeah, I get it. I understand getting distracted from that, but that is wild. A 3D cooperative RPG that's all networked out like that. That's awesome. What are you making it in? It sounds like you've kind of got your own setup. Oh, it says you were using a library. Uh, yeah, I'm curious. All right, so I can remember how this time map snapshot system works. This is going to be the system, this is going to be loosely the way that we get the byte array back into Godot from C sharp. So we only really need to worry about, so we have the board, we know about the board, we have the block editor, we know about the block volume. So we can just send the information down. Normally we'd send it to the board. We'll be like, here's your ship data. We'll need a component that's like the node name or something like that, or like a node identifier. We'll need a way of figuring out which node we want to target. In this case, we can hard code it because we're only working on one, but eventually we need to figure out a more dynamic way of doing that. But let's not worry about that right now. Let us worry about this block area because this is key. So block area is going to have a bunch of stuff in it. I lost my grid lines, but that's fine. I can just take it from here. So a grid layer is this. Can I safely change this without causing too much of an issue? I think the answer is yes. Grid lines is all of it, so I just want a grid layer. I'm going to copy this and call it like a block guide or something like that. Or an area guide or something like that. Let's copy this. So let's duplicate this. Oh, I need to rename it something. ECS, not AWS, you're assuming. No, nothing AWS. Hey, Hunter. ECS entity component system. So, like, it's not anyone's particular entity component system, and it's not cloud-based or online or anything, where it's just we're just using that framework for our game data. We just have a separate C# solution that is handling all our game data. Like, instead of nodes that store other nodes and stuff like that, we have entity IDs that are associated with components and buffers and things like that. Were you thinking of like the AWS like Elastic something something something? I use AWS for a little bit of stuff. Not very much. But I use it for my web stuff. At one point I thought about doing games there, but didn't seem like the thing for me. What am I calling this? I'm calling this area outline, maybe? I don't know. Let's move this up in here in the block area. This area outline. Actually, we could just call this grid layer, huh? We call everything else grid layer. We have floor layer, deck layer, hull layer. Let's do that. Let's not make this more complicated than it is. We're just gonna plug in. Don't save. I'm in a little bit of an awkward spot because I'm trying to support the legacy way that we did this as well as the new way that we're doing it. Oh, I gotta drop the ban hammer. Hold on. Got someone to ban over on Twitch. Load the photon torpedoes. Target the bot here. All right. Ready? Fire. I enjoy doing that. Hunter, you only say ECS because it's also an acronym for an extremely popular AWS service. Yeah, you're thinking of the Elastic Container Service. Okay, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was like, I feel like there is an ECS for AWS, and I was like, what is it? Yeah, acronyms are getting out of control. Uh, like in games, like there's some acronym like AOC is the acronym for like what, like 4 different games, some of old, some new, like not to mention like a senator or representative. It's really hard to have an acronym nowadays that is uniquely identifying anything. Kind of a problem. Okay, so block area. So the block area is going to have a grid layer. So let's plug in a grid layer. Let's instantiate a grid layer. Why are there 2 of these? Oh, grid lines and grid layer. So we'll say grid layer. We'll go into the grid layer. We need to redraw this so that it's like this. This shouldn't affect my other implementation. Oh, is it already like this? Oh no, we have the eraser on. So we need to change the grid layer to look like this. We're drawing from the outside instead of from the inside. Actually, wait, we don't need to do that. What am I talking about? Doesn't matter. I actually kind of like that. I might actually prefer that anyway. But we don't actually need to do that right now. So let's just keep it the way it is. You joined min combo and haven't heard of entity components. Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. It's like an alternative way of... So I don't know. You've probably heard of something in practice, something like the component pattern, where you... This is all from Game Programming Patterns, which is a great website. So something like... So yeah, you'll have your game object, and the structure of game objects get kind of wild. Obviously, if you've ever used Godot or Unity or anything, Unity is technically an entity component system where like you have your game object, which is the entity, and you attach components to it, but it ends up being kind of bloated, their implementation, because they're doing a version of this that's like the component pattern, where each component or object in this case has its own update cycle, like it has an update function. So every object is being iterated over, which obviously is not the best way to do it. So when you have an entity component system, where's the little thing that helps explain this? Oh, this isn't the component. No, it is. I don't know. When you have an entity component system, the systems do all of the implementation, they do all the updating, and the components just hold data. And the entity is just an identifier for recognizing that data. Oh, this was the component pattern. I thought he had a different picture here that helped illustrate the point. I can't find it. But yeah, it's just a framework system for organizing. It's a little different than the node system or the game object system in Godot or Unity in that like we don't do any updating directly on the entities. The systems do all the updating and they iterate over a linear collection of entities whenever possible. So it's just a way of separating data from functionality. So in ECS, components will defer attribute updates to a parent's process. No, so it's not even the parent. It's like what you do is you have a system that basically asks for, let's say you have entities that have, entities might have a bunch of different things, but let's say a bunch of entities have a position component and they have like a velocity component. So you can have a system that says, regardless of whatever components they have, give me all the entities that have position as well as all of the entities that have a velocity. So like give me all the entities that have both a position and a velocity. And then that system can go through in linear memory, like, and update everyone's position based on their velocity. So it's like a very quick way to operate on objects. All right, Moose. You're using Godot. You have an auto load using Godot's API for local testing and an auto load using Fizzy Steamworks for creating connections through Steam. You worked on your own solution for communicating server state. That's rad. Yeah, I wish I was more comfortable just like plugging in libraries and doing this stuff, because it seems like you can really get a lot done. All right, so we have our grid layer. We also need these other layers. These I might need to recreate. I should arguably recreate this grid layer anyway. Mm. Thank you so much for the explanation. It makes a lot of sense. I appreciate you saying that because my explanation was trash. But there's a bunch of implementations of entity component systems that are great, and they usually explain it a lot better. But yeah, it's a fun kind of somewhat different way of. It's like the embodiment of like composition over inheritance, because you end up having these components, and the components don't. It's a way of having, you know, a kind of flexibility in terms of, you know, objects only need to be as complex as they need to be. They only need to have the features that they absolutely need for what they're about to do. And because you're processing on the systems and not the objects themselves, then you only, you know, need to pay to process what you're actually needing to process. It's not like this discarded like function call that on all these objects that actually don't need to update every frame. There's a bunch of cool benefits to it. It's one of those things that it's like you wouldn't use it unless you were absolutely sure, or you shouldn't use it unless you were absolutely sure that like your game needed it, because it involves a lot of kind of swimming against the current. Okay, so I'm kind of waffling a little bit. I've got all of these layers. So our deck layers, we've got a door layer, a floor layer, a wall layer. I kind of don't want to use these scenes that I've already set up because they have scripts attached to them and stuff. I guess I could just load the scene, remove the script, and then just have the scene, and that way I've at least got the configuration set up. Maybe I do that. So let's try that. So let's load a floor layer in here. And then let's just detach the script. So the grid layer is just going to be our outline. Then we're going to have a floor layer X, floor layer Y, floor layer Z, and then we'll go. So what is special about this? So you have a whole default T-res. You're all pre-configured. Do you have anything set up like in terms of rendering layer? You should. So your z-index 0 and your relative and your y-sort enabled. Okay, so if I go to a wall, if I load the wall scene, well, you have a higher z-index. Yeah, your z-index 2. Okay, so I do have, so I'm glad I'm, oh, but a bunch of your information is based on the script. Oh, shoot. So we say what the dimension is and the that's fine. We can figure this out. I still want to detach the script, but we'll add information back as it becomes clear we need it. Hunter, you agree with me that composition is greater than inheritance, but you're surprised to hear that from someone writing C#. That's a sick sick burn. No, I should not have written this in C#. I should have written it in like C++ as like a GD extension. I have many years of C# experience. And to be fair, there is like a high performance subset of C# that you can use. Like you don't necessarily, like you don't have to, like you can do it. Like we're manually managing memory to an extent, even though we're using like an entity, or even though we're using C#. Like we're doing some silly stuff, and we should have probably used a different environment, but we went for comfort over efficiency here. Moose, you spent a lot of time creating a solution where server has all authority. Unfortunately, undoing that now due to the delay it can cause in feedback. Fortunately, switching to RPC calls was easy with something. Your thought suspended. Okay, that's crazy. I mean, that definitely seems like an issue in terms of having feedback be immediate, but also having it be like, you know, having the server be authoritative. All right, so we're going to stick with this. So we're going to have 8 layers for now. I'll have a grid layer on top, 3 floor layers, 3 wall layers, and a door layer. And that should be adequate to start. Actually, we're going to rename these. So this is... We're going to rename these. I'm going to undo what I just did. So we have door layers. We are going to... So if I duplicate a scene, what I don't know is whether it retains the link to the other file. I don't think so. Like if I duplicate a scene, I don't think it's linked to the other scene. So we're going to call this... Oh, we're not going to do door layer, though. We're going to have a bulk, or we're going to have a deck layer. This way it's at least a different scene, and I don't have to worry about messing with it too much. We're going to leave them here for now. I'm not going to move them in the file hierarchy. I am going to open this. I am going to disconnect your script, and I'm going to rename you. I'm going to do the same thing here. We are still using a door layer, which makes me a little uncomfortable. We are sharing some functionality here with the previous implementation. Makes me a little scared. All that bulk layer, because we kind of changed our naming convention since previously. So instead of that, we are going to place in 3 of these up here. Hunter, that's pretty awesome. Did you do web dev before this? .NET is surprisingly fast. It's fast. No, so before I got into Godot, I was doing Unity. In the last 3 or 4 years of Unity that I was doing was their data-oriented tech stack, which they have their own entity component system, and that's all written in C#. They call it like high performance C# or whatever. Like it's a subset of it. They're blazingly fast, but that's because they have the job system and they have the burst compiler. So like their stuff is so fast that yeah, it was impressive to me. So I took like their ECS and I did like instanced rendering, and it was like insane the amount of stuff that you could do. There's some great examples of that Diplomacy is not an option is a great example of like an ECS game that's just incredibly quick and impressively fast. All right. Okay. So this is our basis for our area. Our block area. So our volume has multiple areas. This is our block area is going to store all of our layers. This is all the layers that we should need to start. This should be fine to start. These are offset, and this is offset by a different amount. Oh, this is different. Shoot. Okay, well, I'm glad I copied these. Because I remember that we were doing something different with 0. What we want is right now our top corner is -7, -7. We need our top corner to be 0, 0. We previously had our origin in the center as 0. We need our origin to be the top because of how we're indexing into the buffer. I mean, we don't need it. We could do our own offset, just maybe what I should do. But I think I want to do it that way. That's just easier. And we can still do map to local if we need to reference something that's outside of our tile map layer, outside of the buffer. So this is a problem because this is a shared... Oh, it doesn't matter because we don't build this part. So we can actually fix this here. So we can... So the way we do this is we just move down by half, right? So we move to, we say like 30, we say like 28 or something. No, 32. Oh, hold on. How do we do this? How do we change this? I realize I did it. I've done this previously, and then I deleted the thing that I did, that I did this for, and I want to cry a little bit. Because our block area was a tile map layer that was set up correctly for this, and now I don't remember. Oh, we just have to redraw it like this and then offset it, right? That's how we do this. So we take this whole thing. Can't I grab it? Oh, it's the select, not that. This. We move it down. I actually am going to change this. Maybe. Maybe not. Getting distracted. All right, so grab this. We move it down like the one more, like that, so that 0 is the corner, and then we move it up. Now we move this up to negative something. Not 64, negative 60. There we go. Save that, and now we got to go fix this. Why did that only break one of these? This is what I'm concerned about when I'm like duplicating scenes and stuff. Seemed to only break one of these. I'm going to make a different scene. I'm going to restore this back to what it was. And I'm going to copy this. It's not worth it. It's not worth the fear. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to call it line layer. And this is what we're going to use here. This is kind of new for me, this idea of like keeping my old implementation working as I work on a new implementation. It's not something I would normally do. But I feel like for streaming specifically, it's like really helpful because if someone came in and was like, what are you working on? I could like easily jump in and like show them the tool that we're trying to recreate. Whereas like the normal way that I would do this offline, I'd be like, sorry, this system is broken for the next like 3 weeks while I fix it. And in this case, it would be months. It would have been months of the system being broken. And I found that nothing destroys motivation more than like having a game that doesn't having a project that won't compile because you broke a bunch of it and you're like in the middle of fixing it. I think it's okay to do that for like one day. You can have like one, probably less than a day. If you get to the end of the day and the whole system's still broken, that's a scary place to be for me personally. All right, so we've split this out. I'm gonna really need to reorganize this file folder eventually once we actually do this. So we finish this swap. All right, so let's go to the line layer. Now we can fix this. So now we can move all of this stuff down. Change the origin to be here. Move this up to negative. And by up, I mean down. You got any game projects going, Hunter? I'm always interested to hear what people are doing in the channel. We also have a Discord. If anyone wants to like share their works in progress and kind of connect with the community. It's pretty quiet Discord right now. We're still a very small community, but we're growing. There's a lot of cool game devs in there. All right. Rename this to line layer. Now I need to recenter you, it looks like. Having pixel perfect transforms here is really great for me. I love that stuff. So you are off-centered. That's not correct. So I need to move you back to 0. You don't need to be off-center. You need to be off-center. You got to be off-center, and you got to be off-center. It'd probably be easier if I did this the other way, honestly. Because now all of these need to be off-center like this. It would probably be easier to just have the other one be off-center. Do I want to do it that way? That way, if I change my mind, I can move the whole thing and not every single one of them at a time. That's kind of tempting. Oh, but no, you're like this normally. I am setting you up to be like this. This is hard-coded. This is not good because this is hard-coded to be a specific size. And we would need to manually change it to make it another size. I guess that we'd have to do that no matter what if we're trying to do this top. If top is 0, 0, we'll need to reposition this as stuff changes. That's fine. I'll just go into the scene here and make you, so you are at minus 16, minus 60. I will set all of you to be like this. And for now, that is okay. Do that to this one as well. These arguably don't need to be different. These could arguably be exactly the same. Arguably don't need to inherit anything. They're different scenes right now, but I think that's fine. I don't care. I don't care. That matches our previous implementation. If that becomes truly not necessary, we can change it. Just have them be just generic. Have all of these basically be the same scene. Gotta go. Keep up the good work. I really appreciate that, Nudjul. I hope you have a great day. A great start of your year here. Hunter, yeah, you actually hopped in the Discord? Oh, awesome. Welcome.
Maximum work.
You're doing, yeah, maximum work. Head on out there and explore strange new worlds. You've been doing a 3D desert survival type thing in Godot? That sounds great. I've only done one 3D game in Godot, and I really enjoyed it. I don't think I would keep doing it because the art demands. Okay, so this is shared. This I cannot edit this scene. This I need to be super careful with. Because, yeah, this inherits from a scene that we're still using in the other implementation. So this I'm going to manually change here. There we go. That should be okay. All right, so we've got all our layers. They're all hard-coded to be this size, which isn't great, but that's fine. All of this initial prototype is going to be very, very hard-coded. We have a bunch of these. These are all in not the right place. What are we going to do about that? What's the difference? So you want to look like this. So you're 0, 0, so you want to be offset like that for this mode. You want to look like this. Okay, we're going to try to recreate this in the other one. So you should look like... So the volume is at 0, 0. We need to change these. So these need to go down some amount and then over. Something like... Supposed to look like this. Should probably be something like this. Is this the same? This looks basically the same. I think we did it. Okay, great. This script is shared. Oh no, it's not. I copied it. So we can change this around and not worry about affecting the other. Right now it still does what it needs to do, so we're not going to change it. But eventually we will. All right. Okay, so this is our building area. This is our buildable area here. I realize my deck numbering system is like the opposite of Star Trek. I go 0 up from the bottom. They go 1 down from the top. So like the bridge is deck 1 and then every other deck is below that and it counts down. I did this because this way the deck numbers correspond to their Z indexing offset, but maybe I changed that. Maybe that's like an internal designation and we don't refer to it that way outside. Okay, so to get back to what we were actually trying to do, we need to feed, so we need to be able to hook in to this block volume, grab the, so go into all the different block areas and distribute the tile map data to each of these. And by each of these, I mean not all of them, like the line layer doesn't need it, but everyone else. So We'll probably have the block volume script handle that. It'll go into its areas. So let's see, are we saving these? We still call these, we refer to these by different names here, by kind of obsolete names, but it's all the same stuff. So we get all our children. We say if child is tilemap layer, that's not correct. So let's rewrite this so that it's actually consistent. So we're going to call this, we're going to say block area count, say block area we call these levels instead of areas, but area seems like a good thing. Area has this very explicit areas are 2Ds, or 2D. I like that. I like having the volume be clearly 3D, the area being 2D. So we'll say well, area count, block areas, highest visible grid. I hate that. I hate how like explicit or how long this is name. Top level. What is top level? Am I using this somewhere else? Is this like a named thing? What is top level? I don't define that here. I must define that somewhere else. What is top level? Huh. Just say highest area. Whatever. I see why I use the longest name. Or node 2D. We're going to do this kind of inefficiently because we don't really care right now. Gridline layers dot size. Yeah, that's fine. Block areas dot size. Highest visible area. Oh, highest visible area number. Modulate grid line layers. All right, so we'll say this. We're going to say, call this area line layers. Might go back to some of these older names once we've kind of cleaned up the old solution. But for now, we need different names. The viewing pan thing here, we do need this to work. So we determine the number, we determine to see if the number is different than our current number. If it is, change the number and modulate. We can modulate the whole area, which is interesting. It's not exactly what I would do, but it's a reasonable choice for now. Rather than trying to modulate just just the child of the area object, because we're actually trying to just modulate the grid lines, but might as well modulate that entire level, all the tile map layers in that level. Might as well do it. And so index and range. Man, I haven't touched a GD script in so long. It's kind of weird. I'm not quite sure what this layer distance. Oh, this is so like we can do a modulate of some kind. Interesting. That's cool. All right, so this should work fine for going up and down. We can test that, assuming we're actually calling this, which we almost definitely aren't. Yeah, we're not calling that. Let's do a sanity check here and let's run this and see what errors we get. Yeah. Okay, so why is the board having an issue? Ah, okay, okay. Oh, so we need to get a layer because we are calculating highest visible area. So we need to grab this tile app layer. So it's the highest visible area. We need to get a child of this. How can I specify which children I want here? God, I forget that tabbing around scenes doesn't change the script viewer. Kind of annoying. So we have get children. I would like some other options. I'd like to get a specific child. Oh, that's not a function of this. That's a function of node. I can get child by index, which is kind of rough and probably cheating. Each child node has an index relative to its siblings. The first child is at index 0. Well, as long as we keep the line layer at 0, that works. And that's not great, but I think we're just going to do that. So the getChild function, I should have finished reading that before I just disappeared. So we have an integer index. We have an include internal. What does that do again? Internal children are ignored. Internal. These methods are ignored. Hide internal nodes from the user so the user won't accidentally delete or modify them. Use some GUI nodes, e.g. color picker. Oh, okay, okay. So if I was doing more editor stuff, I probably would use that more, but I'm not actually providing like a plugin to people, so I probably am not going to be using the internal. Because I don't need to be restricting my own access to stuff. Okay, so we should be able to say something like get child 0. And just use this here. Oh, we actually, oh, we do. We do need this. I'm going to call this area line layer. Probably call it like active area or something instead of highest visible. Highest visible is confusing. Like it's what it is, it's the highest visible one, but what we actually want is the active one, which is the top. All right. Well, this is doing the thing. It's not interactive yet, which is fine. What I'm going to do for now is do this. We have debugger issues. F is this. We're trying to parse by name. Where even is this happening? Command dots. Oh, we're failing a try parse on the C# side. Okay. Should probably figure that out. But first, let's say this. So shift. So if we call a shift, let's just say actually, I guess the view system needs to do that. What we could do is we could say game dot board, and no, we can't do that. Let's fix this. Let's fix whatever this bug is first. Just ran the debugger. I didn't get any errors. Why am I being told that I'm having try parse failures, but only when I'm not in debug mode? It's weird. Let's wait till that becomes a problem. So the view system needs to do this. So the view system needs to say something like kind of like that. Switch command dot next case. Shift command dot arg dot shift. Oh, we don't have that. Okay, let's add that. Shift. So if we get a shift command, what else did we have? We had twist, and we had zoom. Zoom. So if we get a shift command, so whichever shift means up and down for us for now. So we need to shift just means up or down. So we need to say game, or we need to say game dot. That's not static. We need to say you need a static. It can't be static. It refers to you. Oh. How am I going to do this? We need to get some input back out. Get it back out from here. I need to send some information to the game board from a system. I didn't think this through very clearly. Systems don't have direct references to this in most cases, but they probably should. It would probably be good if we could do some of this stuff without having to call static functions all the time. Let's do that. Let's start passing the game to all of the systems. I'll pass this down. Can we not do that? Oh, you just cannot access non-static field instead. Oh, do I do this instantly when I'm created? Yeah, I do. Okay. Can we not do this? Okay, good. That's fine. Yeah, maybe we do want a base system class. Maybe I don't care. I'd rather do an iSystem if I ended up having a common system functionality. This is easy enough to do. Let's actually limit it to the ones that actually need it for now. So let's say right now it's just the view system that needs this at the moment. So let's say the view system is going to get access to the game. And so here what it needs to do is it needs to say game.board. Actually, it should just tell the game this. It should say like shift viewer or something like that. And then it should have uh, command.next as an int parse. And we'll figure it out from there. So we go back to the game. If we're doing it this way, why can't I do this? Cannot use this in member initializer. Oh, that's a problem. Okay, we're thinking about how to get input back from the C# world into the scene tree. It's a little complicated because the only real link back to the scene tree at the moment is this game node. They need to be able to get it. I guess I could call like gd.get whatever. I could do something like this, get node. Because this board is not ready necessarily all the time here. Could we pass it back into the input handler? Do we have access to the input handler? No, we don't. We could pass it back into here, but that wouldn't do us any good, would it? I want to get this back out. I can't pass this like this. What if I do it a different way though? If I do it like main system equals new. Wait, why are you upset with me? Oh, you're read only. If I take that away, can I pass you like this? So I can create it in ready. And if I do that, I could do this a little differently then. Who do I want to have be the intermediary of this? Do I want it to be the node back in G-Land, or do I want it to be this game thing? Let me look at my scene tree here. So if when we shift the viewer or we do any kind of control, if we change the game view, like we rotate around, we shift up, we shift down, we do stuff like that, zoom in, zoom out, that will definitely impact the game board, which is this thing, which is like our Node 2D. So the game board is like all of our Node 2D inherited stuff, like anything that has a two-dimensional position in the game. We also have a UI branch. And so something like zooming in and out or shifting up and down shouldn't change anything unless we have UI that's tied to a Node 2D, in which case we just have that change automatically. Oh my god, an anonymous gifter giving No Jewel the tier 1 sub. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. First sub of the year here. I'm sure No Jewel will appreciate it too. I don't think they're here right now, but thank you, anonymous, whoever you might be. Thanks for believing. Thanks for trying to build the community. I have a feeling that's what you're trying to do. Really appreciate that. So my thought is that I could just pass this shift viewer command back to the board. Because if anything, it's not actually shifting the viewer, it's shifting the board. But that might actually impact the UI quite a bit. Shifting wouldn't, but like zooming in and out would. Huh. Cryomin. Hi, what's an FTL-like? Well, this is an FTL-like. But if you're asking what FTL is like, let me show you. Let me get my Chrome up here. So it's FTL, faster than light. It's a fairly old school quote unquote roguelike. It's 13 years old now. It's a starship simulating game. So it's like you have a small crew on this little ship, and your whole deal is, managing the systems, directing the crew to the different parts of the ship they need to go. Like this little guy's putting out this fire. They're manning the systems. You're distributing power down here in the lower left is like your power distribution to different ships. So it's kind of like this little starship simulator, like a la like Star Trek or something like that. You're usually fighting other ships. It's usually kind of non-positional in that like you're not flying around explicitly. You're more managing the internal maneuverings of people. Oh, hey, still needs work. How are you doing? It's good to see you. Happy New Year. The 9 months still needs work. That's amazing. Pretty good. That's good to hear. Anyway, Cryomin, we're doing kind of like an isometric 3D attempt at this. So we're kind of like doing the 3D chess version of FTL, Fast and Light, which is a huge undertaking. I'm continually being reminded by everything I attempt to do in here. Oh my god, anonymous gifter, phaser blasting yet another viewer here with Cryoman gifted the anonymous tier 1 sub. Really appreciate that. Oh, thank you for the follow, Cryoman. Welcome. How are you doing? Right now, we're kind of agonizing on moving information back and forth between our C# world and our Godot world. We haven't really figured out the right way to be able to do that yet. I kind of like initializing the systems in ready so that we know all of the Godot stuff is already good to go. And then we initialize all of our backend stuff. That's probably fine. And in that case, all the systems have a reference to... okay. Yeah, I think this is okay. I think this should be fine. So we initialize them and then we call they're ready. Do we need to even do anything in ready? What were we even doing in ready? We were calling test system ready. I see why we were doing that. That was like an init. Maybe we should call this init instead of ready. But I kind of like ready because it shows that we run this in ready, like it's a ready function. Hunter, this game is going to be sick. You love the concept. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I think it will also be sick. It might take a few years to come together. We've already spent a year on it, and we've only been working on frameworks and systems. Crowman, you're trying to learn Godot? Hell yeah. I've only been using Godot about maybe 15 months or something like that. I really like it. I've done a couple of game jams. I would recommend that as like the best way to learn, maybe just do small little game jams or something, but it's been awesome. I really enjoy this. For 2D, for pixel art 2D games, I really can't imagine a better environment to work on. Only 15 months. You know, for game stuff, before I did 15 months in Godot, I did 15 years in Unity about. So probably even more, but I'm going to call it 15 years. So yeah, 15 months in Godot does not feel very long. Yeah, 15 years in Unity. As a hobbyist, like I'm small potatoes, but I never got to do games professionally, really. So my thinking is that the view system processes the command and calls back to the game and shifts the viewer. This is probably better. The alternative would be the game searching for a command and then executing it, which I don't think is good. Why is this a static? It's static because we can't get it otherwise. So what if I make that... I'm kind of hacking this thing where I've got a static list. And we're calling, we're doing stuff statically that I feel like we shouldn't do, and I feel like we don't need to do it this way anymore. Um, so I could pass the game into the input system. So right now it reads this stuff. Oh, it just reads game.input. Oh no, it reads game.current state as well. I kind of like having it be like this. Lurk, no worries. Thank you. Thanks for stopping by. Still needs work. I really appreciate that. It's nice to see you. Yeah, this seems wrong. Asking the current state in a static function feels bad. So we should probably stop doing that. So instead we could do something like this, game.input. I mean, we could still do this as game.input, but this is also kind of messed up. Cryoman, your game making experience is like a good time in Scratch, a bit of Unity, like teeny tiny, and then you tried Godot once, like 2 years ago. But coming from Unity, you had no clue how the scenes and stuff worked. And like in the middle of December, you picked it up again because of Christmas and vacation. You didn't get much done yet. No worries. Yeah, I took a little while to get used to nodes and scenes too, because it's kind of weird. Because like a scene is a node is a scene, like nodes and scenes are really like interchangeable, and it's really interesting and powerful, all the stuff you can do with it, but it's like it is a little confusing. That's awesome. I hope you stick with it. Once you get the hang of it, it's like really powerful and pretty easy to use. But yeah, I get that it's disorienting. It's a different way of thinking about it. Okay, this is what I don't love about this. I don't want to do this. I want to just make. Okay, here we go. I'm unhappy with this. I need to find a hook back in that's not doing this. Not doing it like this. I need a hook back into the node world, the scene tree, and I want game to be that hook. So I'm a little curious about onReady variables when interacting with them through C sharp. Like onReady. Oh, do you not reference onReady here? These are all exports. So attributes onReady. C sharp does not have this ability. Did she the same? Yeah, okay. So we just need to define it in ready. There's no other way around it. That's unfortunate. What are we gonna do about this? If it's an export, though, is it ready, or is an export variable Let me try it. Let's see if we can work around this way. So what if instead we have this? What if we define this as an export variable? C# doesn't seem to be aware of what that means per se, which is fine. Exported member, yeah, okay. Okay, so we can't do that. So we need to do like this. So export, I don't think export is any different than than on ready, really, but maybe it is. I need to fix the compiler errors before I can do this. So let's Crime. And so you work in Godot, but use the C# language because of like a Unity experience. Yeah, pretty much. I did bother to learn. I did bother to learn GDScript. I like GDScript to be fair. I don't want to just have a command.parse. I know I wrote a command.parse and then I got rid of it, and because I was like, I can just do enum.parse. But I realized that int has a parse, and like I think other ones too. Does string have parse? String.parse. No. Okay, but int does, so you can say int.parse. Kind of like that. Kind of want to give my commands a parse. I want to be able to say command.parse instead of enum.parse command arg. I also don't love the phrasing for this. Like, command is command.next command.arg.view. I would like to be able to say like command.next.is, or even just command.is. Oh. For you, GDScript is better because Python is like the programming language you're most familiar with, and GDScript still has nothing. Yeah, that's a great reason. That's a great reason. That's kind of why I'm using C#. But yeah, I wrote all the initial parts of this project in GDScript, and all of my like game jams and stuff are written in GDScript. Like I like GDScript. I don't really have a problem with it. For this project specifically, I wanted to split it. All right, let's rebuild, see if we get our export field. So we do get our export field. It's this. The thing is, though, I don't think C# knows anything about this. Yeah, it says like non-nullable is uninitialized. It's not, yeah, is that what an export does? Like an export node? Is it really just waiting until, like I can't make it static. No. Like we're using the set, you can tell. Like if we get rid of the export, does the set go purple or whatever? Oh, we have a bunch of usage of this. Where are we using all of this? How do we have 8 usages of this? 4 outside. This dot board, this dot board, this dot at board. Info dot add property. Oh, this is probably some like partial script stuff. Yeah. So yeah, making this an export and making it an onReady is really, there's really no difference, except I kind of like onReady better. So we can't really call into this easily. And GDScript export makes you able to edit the variables outside of the script. Yeah, no, I get that. I just wasn't sure if it had like, if it would happen, like how it would handle that from an initialization standpoint. But it seems to be indistinct from just making an onReady in terms of timing, except that I guess you just don't have to do that part first. It's just handled for you. Because like I don't really want to have to plug that in here as an export because it's just its child. Like we might as well just get it. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? I can't seem to access auto loads in C sharp, in the C sharp side. I'm kind of curious about that. Like auto load. Okay, it doesn't say this anywhere. You don't talk about auto load anywhere. I know you talk about globals. Global classes. Here we go. Okay, so I could define a global class here. That's interesting. Trying to find a static hook for my systems that so that they can talk back to the node, the node world. So I can make a global class here, but it doesn't seem to like be considered a static class per se. And it's unclear how I can get them. Because in GDScript, you just if I have a global class, which I do, I can just be like, yeah, I can just call it up. Pretty sure. I can just say, yeah, I can just say input handler. Like I can just directly call the global class. So can I talk back to the input handler from the C sharp side? My instinct is no. Like, can I do it from here? Like, what do I need to say? GD dot input handler? No. Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious how you, if you can, it seems like the answer is no. You cannot talk to uh, at least editor defined global classes. That would be a way around this. Mhm. Let's look at cross-language scripting. Let's see what we're doing. Just want to figure out the way how I'm gonna do this. I'm not trying to load script files. Godot object.get. Oh no, I don't need to get the object. I need to get the. I don't need to get the property. I need to get the whole effing object. Which I thought for autoloaders was gonna be like a little easier. Oh yeah, this seems like this is not gonna work. This seems way convoluted. That's unfortunate. Hey, bad cop. How's it going? Happy New Year. How are you doing? You're sick and dying. Oh, that sucks. I'm all right. This is our first stream of the year, and we're kind of fighting to communicate between our C# stuff and our stuff in Godot. So I'm paying for my choices. But otherwise, we're doing great. There's a cool trick for this. Oh yeah, rewrite all the C#. Oh my god, you got me. I was ready. I was like, oh sweet. I spent a while reading this. Yeah, yeah, that is the way. That is the way to fix this. That would be the way. Yeah, what we're trying to do is we need to pass stuff back through to the scene tree, and I'm deciding how I want to do that. It's actually not that hard. I'm just being I'm being a curmudgeon about it. I'm trying to limit the number of places that the two talk to each other for basically no reason other than simplicity. Crowman, you're not sure if I can help, but you have like a gun in your game and it flips its sprite when you aim in a certain direction. But the point where the bullet spawns doesn't. So it looks scuffed when shooting to the left. Do you know of a way to fix this issue? Because you can't flip the shooting point. I have a suspicion. So is all that you're doing like a flip H or like a flip V or something of the sprite? Is that how you're like, do I have an example of a sprite anywhere? Because sprite has like a flip H and a flip V thing. So you're just flipping the sprite. Okay, that's what you're doing. Yeah, well, that's all that that does. It just flips the sprite. So it's not going to change the like anchor point of like where you shoot. Um, so I don't know. I guess the easiest way to do that would be to like have a marker or something that's like your shooting point, and you just change the relative position of that. Like you just have two positions coded. You make it like a child of the same thing of the whatever the. You just make it like a child of the sprite or whatever, and you just have two positions, two relative positions that it should be depending on whether it's flipped or not. And you just change the marker to whichever position. It doesn't have to be a marker. It actually shouldn't, or you're going to see it. Uh, but have like basically an empty node 2D or something that's like the spawn point. Oh, or do what Bad Cop says, because Bad Cop's the best. Flip the scale of the transform instead of the sprite. That's a way better way to do that. That is a much better way to do it. Yeah, flip the scale of the transform instead of just flipping the sprite. All right, so what I wanted to do doesn't seem great because I can't refer to auto loads in C sharp. So the way I wanted to do this is not going to work. So we're going to do this a different way. We're just going to accept this. So we're not going to declare this here. We're also not going to have this be static. We're going to fix some things that I did that were bad. That were bad ways of doing things. They like I got away with them, but they were like inappropriate way to do this. So we're going to fix some stuff. We're going to not initialize this. Do this. Oops. Actually, no, yeah, this is fine. This is fine. Maybe it's just scale. Yeah, I think you're probably right that it's just scale. It's just scale. Yeah, just flipping scale should do it, right? Yep, just scale. Sweet, sweet. All right. Okay, so we're gonna initialize all of our systems in ready, which is fine. That way, if they do call back to the scene tree, it's in like it's already in the initialized state. So I think that's okay. We are going to pass down a reference to the game here. Give it to you. I know I went away from doing this, but I think this is fine. So we're just gonna pass our boundary node, our like node that is the boundary between the two, between the C sharp world and the GD script world. We're just gonna pass that around, and we'll just use that when we need to. So here we could say like, so we could have this like, okay, these need to not be static functions anymore because they shouldn't be. They should never have been static functions. And now they are not. Instead of multiplying, you've set it to scale.x equals -1 or scale.x equals 1, depending on rotation, because you do the flipping in process. Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad it worked. Public void shift view integer direction. Yeah, sure. So here we can say board. What do we call this? Oh, this is just the board. We need to put this somewhere different. We need this to be here. So block volume. You have a pan viewer up or down. Oh, we're just gonna do this. Oh, you don't know anything about this, huh? Okay. We're gonna say block volume and viewer. We're just gonna pass this down because I don't care about this right now. Oops. That should be sufficient. Mr. Iliad, am I going to GDC? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I got my indie game summit pass. That's like my treat to myself each year. I know it's expensive, but compared to the other tickets, most of the other tickets, it's like a pretty good deal. I set aside money for that each year. It kind of helps me with my imposter syndrome a little bit. Going to the indie game summits, the summit. Hear Thomas Salah talk about how solo game development is impossible, that we're all gonna die. It's usually depressing, but it does help. You skipped the summits the past couple of years. You went in 2021. Cool. Yeah, that was a year. That was a weird year because that was like the first year back or whatever, right? After they skipped 2020. Did they do one in 2021? I feel like they came back 2022. I actually don't remember. You watched D Mullins? Nice. Yeah, I'm old and unsuccessful. I my first GDC was 2008. It was wild. Back then we were watching like Cactus speak and like I sat next to the programmer of Fez and I was such an idiot. Yeah, so embarrassing. I was not worthy. It's GDC, the Game Developer Conference. It's this big gathering in San Francisco each year. Do I have to call this? So, how do I? Oh, we talked about this. We talked about we looked. We didn't talk about it, but I read about this. Calling a method in GD script from here is awkward. Calling a C sharp. No, calling a GD script method from C sharp. I need to use the Godot object dot call. So I need my node, and I need to I need to call, and I need to pass the string. And I need to pass a thing. Okay. So I need to say board.call pan viewer up or down. Wow, this is going to be a nightmare to maintain. We have to keep track of like strings of like GDScript function calls. Direction. Two 2008, dang. Like when in 2008? All right, well, making me feel old. It's March of every year, Cryoman. It's always in like mid to late March, usually late March. It's in San Francisco. So I usually don't have much of an excuse because I've lived in San Francisco for a really long time. So I just go because I don't have to spend money on hotels or flights or whatever. So I just go. I just get my ticket and go. It's pretty cool. It's usually pretty inspiring when it's not just full of blockchain and AI bullshit. Like 2 years ago, there was like a whole game engine that was just like a front for like AI prompts. It was called like Yahaha or something. I was like, oh, time for all of us to just jump off a cliff. You're allowed to make me feel old because you turned 30 tomorrow. Well, happy birthday, old person, fellow old. Welcome to the ranks. Your body is basically going to stop working tomorrow. It seems like you're already ahead of it because you said you're sick and dying. But yeah, as soon as you turn over into 30, your body basically gives up, and like you can injure yourself like getting out of bed. That's upsetting, Cryoman, but I understand that that's just the truth of where we're at nowadays, temporally. Temporally. It already does not work. You're ahead of the curve. Right on. That's what they mean when they say old at heart or whatever, right? Okay, so I need a reference to the game here. So game. So I'm gonna stop statically or trying to statically reference to this game node because that's like it seems unnecessary and bad. We'll just keep this reference around. Why does it think this is not useful? I'm using this right here. Oh, interesting. Okay, so I do still need to do this if I'm accessing the static context. That's another thing I could do instead. Instead of doing it this way, hold on. Did I break something else? Curious if I broke something else. I could keep doing this static biz. I'm a little concerned about how this looks from here, from the Godot side, talking to the game node. Who does that? Who talks to the game node right now? It's the UI node? No, it's the input handler. Oh, shoot. You also directly. The UI is directly talking to. Or is that a signal? That's probably a signal somewhere. Well, that's not good. I'm not using that. I'm not currently using that for anything. Where's the input handler? So, do you already have characters? And if yes, do they move using pathfinding? And if moving by pathfinding is true, print how does one make pathfinding? I've had a previous prototype that did. They currently don't. We do have characters. They're like really tiny. They're like you can kind of see them in this little piece of concept art. They're like little guys. They're real little guys. We do have some characters. I've just been doing basic stuff for them lately. I don't even know where any of their stuff is. Uh, like here's a fisticuffs thing. So they're really small little guys. This is one of them like my first attempt at having them attack. It's like really, really scuffed, but they're just little guys. But you're asking about pathfinding. Yeah, I just used A-Star 3D. A-Star Grid is fine. A-Star Grid 2D is cool too, but I ended up just using A-Star 3D last time I did this. Will I make my own pathfinding when you do it again? Will I spend like weeks doing my own pathfinding implementation? Maybe. Maybe. Unfortunately, we'll see. I'm kind of weird like that. Like there's perfectly good features that I could just use, but I need this, I weirdly need to understand everything I use, and it causes me to, well, within reason, I am still using the Godot engine. I'm not like writing a whole game from like the scratch library. But I am tempted usually, instead of like using a service, I'll like try to figure out something out myself. What was my alternative? Oh yeah, I wanted to test to see if this worked. Let's just run this and see what the error is. I'm concerned about something. Okay, no errors, so that seems okay. Because we're doing game state filtering. Oh no, we're not. I thought we decided to do game state filtering here. Oh, we're just cheating and not do. Oh no, we are doing it here. Game.state as string. Okay, well that works, even if it's not in a static context. So that's good to know. So you can reference the input and you can reference the world without a direct reference to the game node because these are static. So that's good. We could do it kind of like this, where if you need to do a shift viewer thing, you could put this back into the input, but that just kicks the can down the road because eventually we would need to come back here. Oh, maybe that's what I'm gonna do. Maybe we'll run all of the system stuff, and then we come back, and then the game goes through, reads the last set of input, which is like almost like a synchronization, like instructions for synchronization. I don't know. That's probably not the right way to do that. That would be cool in that it would be entirely indirect. Hmm. Kind of tempted to try that. I should have architected this a little bit more. I really like the idea of the systems not being able to directly call back out here. And it's all indirected or indirect. So we finish, because this is all linear. So the system will run, all the systems would run, and then we could come back and we could check. We have an input object. We could potentially have an output object, and you fill that output object with things that need to go back into. It needs to go back out into the world. I kind of like that because it's like an indirect. I like adding indirect channels to things. I don't like things directly doing things. I like things changing some kind of middling state. They apply something to a channel and then something else reads that channel. Like I kind of like that way of doing things. Cryoman, so what's A star, and is it like in Godot or is it something extra? No, it's in Godot. It's A star is the most common pathfinding implementation. It's a pretty straightforward, it's a well understood pathfinding implementation. And so if you just look at A star in the Godot docs, you have three options. You have A star 3D, A star 2D, and A star grid 2D. If you're just in 2D, if you just have a 2D game board and you're able to like define it, this is the simplest one. This one you just define an area, like a 2D area, and it just handles the creation of the board for you. You do need to tell it if areas are like inaccessible. So you need to fill regions that can't be accessed, but it's like the far and away the simplest way to do pathfinding in Godot. A star 2D and A star 3D are more complicated in that you need to build the pathfinding network yourself. Like you need to go through and give it a list of points that can be navigated. So it's more flexible. It's easier to do like hierarchical pathfinding with something like this. But if you just need a simple grid, like a straight up grid pathfinding thing, just do this. This one's like, there's some easy tutorials for it too. And you can make it follow another scene. It's just a 2D area. So you would tell it what the area is. The easiest way to tell it what like a region is it's a 2D. So for something like this, you would probably just give it the region of like, you'd take your tile map and you'd say like get used cells or something like that. Is it get used cells? I don't know. There's a function that tilemap has which will tell you how big of an area the tilemap layer uses, and you can just use that for pathfinding. And then the only thing is you need to go through and like if you have obstacles, you need to tell it like, oh, you can't path through this obstacle. So you would need to do that, but you need to do that either way. But yeah, I would recommend this if you just have a 2D play area. And especially if you're using like a tile map or something for the environment, but you can also just tell it the region that you have blocked out. Usually the way you do this is you would like make a grid based on tile map cells, and you'd have each cell be a point in the grid, and then you'd pathfind around it really easily. But if you need something more organic, that's when you would use A star 2D or A star 3D. Or you can also do nav mesh stuff. But I haven't really used the Godot nav mesh stuff. Do they even call it nav mesh? They call it something else. No, it's 3D navigation. Yeah, so they have mesh-based navigation stuff as well. So here's all their, I would check this out. So they've got like their navigation server 3D. This is like, I don't know, I don't actually know how to use any of that. But that's probably their most powerful navigation system, and it's mesh based, so you can like give it a topology and it will like navigate stuff around for you. So for the grid region, can you also use positions relative to the node? Positions relative to the node. When I'm using the A star grid 2D thing, I am using it in conjunction with tilemap. So and tilemap has ways of going from local position to grid position. So that's what I do if I'm doing that. Because I don't want like a million pathfinding positions. Like I don't need a position for like every pixel. I don't need a tile map. You want a few discrete navigational positions. So if you have something like a tile map, you can just say local to map, and you get the map position that corresponds to a local position. And so you can relate everything to the map and then use the map as like your way of doing the pathfinding. That's what I would do, but not knowing anything about your game. Presuming that you have a tile map somewhere, but you probably don't, because I think you said you were doing 3D game. If you're doing a 3D game, I would look at A star 3D. And then you would just feed it a list of positions that are the nodes of the pathfinding. Oh no, you're doing 2D? Okay, cool. Yeah, if you have there's a couple of good tutorials on YouTube about how to connect or how to do pathfinding with tilemap and A-Star Grid 2D. I would check those out. It'll get you up and running pretty quickly, and you'll have some grid-based navigation. All right, we're almost out of time. I think I'm settling for this other way of doing this. I think I've changed my mind again. I'm gonna try to do this indirection thing. I'm gonna try to do this with indirection. Although, wait, that would that means I would wait until the end of the turn to do that. Would that be okay? Waiting until the end of the turn and then making all of the changes? I guess if it's a queue, it's probably okay. A series of queues. I guess it's very unlikely that I would have conflicting commands come in on a single frame. I want to try doing it this way. We're going to try it. It might not work. We're going to think about registering outputs in the same way that we register inputs, and then we'll process the outputs at discrete points. And isn't it tile map layer? Yeah, it's called tile map layer now, and that might impact some of what you're doing. So in what node do you apply the A-star grid, like in the tile map layer or the enemy? I would have the A-star grid. The A-star grid is an object, so you would need to be like new A-star grid. I don't remember how you do it in GDScript, but you would create a reference to the A-star grid. You'd create the A-star grid. I would do it in the tile map layer because the tile map layer is going to be what defines how that grid looks. And then you can basically have something ask the tile map layer, how do I get to this place from like where I am? And you can easily do the tile map layer conversions of like local to map and map to local based on. So you would, if you've got like an enemy's position, you would say local to map, and that will give you the tile grid that the enemy's on, and then you can, figure out. You can feed, that position and the end position that you want to the A-star grid 2D, and then your little doodle walk around there. The only things you need to do is you need to initialize the A-star grid 2D based on the region of the tile map layer. I think it's get used cells or something like that. Let me see. Is it get used cells? Or is it like cell region? What is it? No, get used cells gives you all the cells. That's not what you want. Oh, you want get used rect. So you would take your tile map layers get used rect and use that rect because this will give you back a rect of the area of the tile map that's actually being used, the like non-empty area. And you can use that to create an A-star grid 2D. And then if you have obstacles, you need to, mark those so that they're not passable. But if it's a fairly open map, then you are just pretty much good to go. So yeah, I would put a script on your tile map layer, and I would create the A-star grid 2D in there and set it up in there. All right, we're gonna make an output. Give me a sealed class. It's gonna have queues and stuff like the input. Can go in IO because it technically is IO. I.io. All right, and we're gonna use this. We're gonna use the output class as our channel for communicating things that are going back out. We'll have to figure out some kind of medium of exchange, but that's fine. Or that is the medium, but we're gonna need to figure out the message, what the exchange message looks like. I think that'll be interesting. It says unexpected identifier and class body. That's probably just a syntax error. I honestly, I would watch it. I would watch a YouTube video. So like YouTube, A-star grid, 2D. I would look at this one. I'd look at point and click 2D grid movement in Godot 4 using A-star grid 2D. This is one I watched, and it's a little obsolete because it uses tile map and not tile map layer. But it shouldn't matter. Drop that into the chat here. I would watch that as a starting point because that's basically what you're doing. There's a character, there's a tile map layer, and there's a A-star grid 2D. Yeah, I mean you don't need point and click. That's fine. You can just replace the point and click with wait, you don't need point and click. No, but your enemies are essentially point and click, right? Like you pick a point where they're trying to go to, and they're going to pathfind around. It's just you're not using a mouse pointer. You're using some other thing to decide where they're going. But it's still like just a vector 2 that you're plugging in. It's not like a direct character movement. So it is a lot like point and click. Just having enemies run around. Assuming, I'm not sure how you tell them where to go. Yeah, you're somehow going to use the player position. Oh, yeah, easy then. You just feed, so your point and click, your point is just the player's position, fed into the tile map layer. Yeah. I found this video super helpful. So I don't know if it'll be as helpful to you, but there's a couple of other ones, but that's the one that I watched. I don't see any really new ones. So I don't know if you're going to find one that's like from 4.3. But hopefully that helps. All right, I'm probably going to wrap it up now. I got to get ready to go back to work. I got to do a few things first. I got to have some lunch. But this has been fun. It's been nice seeing everybody. Cryoman, Bad Cop, still needs work. No Jewel, Pheasant SC2, Hunter, Moose, Physics, Fox Shadow. It's really nice seeing all y'all. I know most people have gone now. You're gonna watch the video? Awesome. Yeah, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for stopping by. We have a Discord. I'm happy to help you figure out what's going on, as time allows. But I would love to see, project on your progress on your little projects. If you want to follow along. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be live tomorrow, same time, same place. We stream Tuesday through Saturday normally. We got a little messed up this week because of the holiday. But yeah, it's a new year. Same schedule. Hopefully we'll be really consistent. That's my goal. That's my resolution, is to be super consistent. And I think we'll do it. I think we'll be able to do it. Did I get rid of all the compiler errors? I hope so. Let's check that real quick. I don't like to end a stream with compiler errors. No? Seems good. I keep window key right click close when I can just hit escape, because I like set that up as an input, and I'm still convincing myself that that's a thing. But yeah, I'm gonna put the music on. And I'll play myself out. I appreciate y'all for watching. We'll be back tomorrow, same time. And yeah, until next time. Bye.